How you doing, y'all? And welcome to Confidence. On today's episode, I really believe it's going to be a deeper episode. And the reason I feel that way is I've got a really nice, long-winded story for you. But hopefully by the end of that story, we could claim some realizations about relationships in general, and also really how to navigate relationships in general. Like, this shit is not easy, you know. The relationships are fucking hard, you know. They're complicated. They are gonna make us pull our hair out. They're gonna make us do some wild shit. They're gonna make us fucking do some feral, toxic shit sometimes. And we're just gonna talk about how difficult I think it really is to maintain a relationship, and maybe some of the pitfalls that we make when it comes to, you know, when we get into fights with people. And I think what really is going to happen here is we're going to talk about how if we don't take accountability for our own shit, we're never going to get the love that we want, and we're never going to be able to maintain the love that we want and deserve. So a couple key topics. The one big key topic at the end of all this is going to be how does one stop attracting unstable men? So we're going to talk about attracting more stable or more consistent men. And then the big quote that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to start the podcast off with the quote, and we're going to talk about it like, you know, more towards the middle, towards the end, once the story is done. But let me give you some foreshadowing to what this podcast is going to explain through a very honest, real, genuine story from my life. And yeah, we're also going to talk a little bit about, I just believe how we all sometimes don't really have a good view of how we are showing up in relationships, because sometimes we are so concerned with blaming the other person and not recognizing our shortcomings when it comes to relationships. And it's very easy to point the finger at our partners. So this is going to be a heavy accountability podcast, I guess. That's what's going to be coming. But here's the thing. Here's the quote that I'm going to essentially, you guys are going to hear the story, and hopefully it resonates with you within the story. And we're going to talk about it towards the middle, like I said, because I do have some rebuttals to the quote as well. So, and this quote is from Esther Perel. If you guys don't know who Esther Perel is, probably one of the biggest names in dating relationships, maybe ever. I don't really know. But anyways, the quote goes, "In relationships, trust isn't a promise to never hurt each other. It's the risk that we will hurt each other, and the confidence that if we do, we will come together to heal." That's from Esther Perel. So essentially, it's just saying, right, like, relationships are not us not hurting each other. It's, we might hurt each other, and the whole point of a relationship is to be able to have somebody that is willing to repair that with you, and to heal. So, all right, that's where we're going to start, and here we go. So, fuck me, the fucking light. Hold on one second, it fell. Come on, bro. All right, sorry about that. The fucking light fell. Had to get back into it. All right, so here's the deal. This weekend, if you guys have been listening to the podcast, on last week on Bad Sex, I discussed that long distance situation was coming to visit. So we planned a magical, little 2 days. And this is really nice. This is the first time I'm seeing her since January. We've, hung out, like I said, not very much over the last 2 months. It's been really hard. Long distance is not fucking easy at all. And honestly, we're really going to get into that, because I think that's a lot of the core of our issues. But so this girl comes to visit me, and, obviously we are just looking to have a good time, right? We're, living the present, being the present. One thing I was talking about on the last podcast was how, I was feeling a little bit worrisome about maybe some of our personality differences, right? She's a little bit more literal. I'm a little bit more playful. And it was something that I actually addressed to her directly. And I was like, listen, we got to talk about this, because I don't know, it's really hard. Sometimes when we have conversations, they can really get, they get turned into bickering when I'm not feeling understood, or you're receiving a message that I'm saying that is playful, that is sarcastic. And, you're not viewing it that way, right? You're viewing it as me being rude or hurtful or literal. So anyways, she comes, she visits. First thing we do, we actually go to breakfast, we sit down, we talk about it. And I would say that's one great thing about this relationship, and something I could really hang my hat on. And I think probably one of the biggest reasons that I love this relationship is the communication is fucking awesome. It's awesome. You know, we're just so fucking authentic and real with each other. We, you know, really try not to blame the other person for, you know, the way that we feel about things. You know, it's not really easy when you're having those conversations, because I think it's two people trying to understand each other. And when you have two different perceptions of the world and you have two different beliefs, and this is every fucking relationship, it's not easy to navigate. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like we all do not think the same. We all have different experiences. We all have different ways that we grew up. We have all different ways in which we communicate things, the tone, the words we use, the ways that we're trying to be understood is not fucking easy. And honestly, it really takes a lot of effort to fix those things, repair those things, understand the other person. And I think for me and her in particular, that was always a strong suit. Is anytime we have some sort of issue or friction, we come together to talk about it. And, you know, yes, we get frustrated at each other, but at the end of the day, you know, we still show up and we still do our best to be really honest with each other without being hurtful. So, you know, we get to that breakfast and we just sit down and we talk, and I'm just like telling her about like how I feel like a little sort of way, right? One of my non-negotiables is sense of humor. And something that's been, you know, a little hard for me is feeling like I'm being misunderstood. Because I think that's simply what it really comes down to. And what's interesting is I'm telling her these things and I'm like pseudo comparing her to like other people in my life. I'm like, oh, you know, when I hang out with so-and-so, like my friend, like when I make a joke, she gets it, blah, blah, blah. Like when with you, it's not necessarily like that. And then she's feeling on her end, maybe me being very critical of the relationship, because as much as she sees the difference between us, right? This girl, she also accepts our relationship for that, if that makes sense. I think she's a little bit more forgiving when it comes to those little differences in our relationship, right? When it comes to, you know, her getting a little upset about something I say, or maybe not liking some of the jokes or things that I might, you know, fuck around and say, right? Like, it's not like it's always funny. You know, I'm not always 100% on point with the humor. Sometimes it can come off a little like too much, and I understand that. But that's the thing too. It's like, I don't think that she holds that against the relationship. And I think something that is so important to this story is to recognize that on my end, and something that historically I've had an issue with in all of my relationships. I'm telling you, I've heard this feedback from every single woman I've ever been with. And it's just that I'm very critical. I'm very critical of my partner. I'm very critical of the issues and the things that are happening. Something she mentioned was how on the podcast, sometimes I talk more positively about the relationship than she ever really knows. In a weird way, whenever we have conversations, me and her, it's really centered around, all right, what can we do to get better, or what things aren't working? I'm always constantly trying to improve. And I think it's always been just the way that I've operated in my life, right? I think I'm a very self-critical person in general. I think if you look at me in its entirety, right, like the things I do, I struggle with perfectionism really, really bad. You know, I want everything to be fucking lights out. I want everything to be perfect. If I'm posting a video, I needs to look good. My hair needs to look perfect. I take 45 minutes to get fucking ready, just plucking one piece of hair on my head. You know, it's just little things like that. I mean, you look at me, right? Like my diet, the gym, the discipline, the constant pushing myself to always improve in every area of life. And I think it stems probably from my childhood where, you know, to be honest, I was raised in a situation where, you know, any little thing that I didn't do right, I would hear about that fucking mistake, right? I always give the example. If I brought home 4 A's and then, you know, 1 C, I would absolutely get fucking chewed out for that 1 fucking C. I always give the example as well. Like my mom comes and visits me sometimes back in the day. And what I'll do is I'll try my fucking hardest to like clean the house, to make it look spotless. I'll get a cleaning crew up in here. My mom will come, she'll visit, right? She'll be like, Chris, it kind of smells in here. It's always something. It's always like, oh, what, you didn't clean out the cabinet? Like, this is a mess. I'm like, yo, the whole house is motherfucking spotless, and you constantly find the one little fucking thing to criticize. And it's funny as hell. I'm saying all this out loud, and I'm like, look at me, look at the way that I operate. Look at the way that I operate in my relationships. Look at the way that I operate when it comes to just the way that I view life, right? And always wanting things to be like on point. I think obviously it comes from somewhere. But you also, you have to take responsibility for that stuff. And I'm recognizing that about myself, and I'm trying to get better. But, we are who we are at the end of the day. Long-winded explanation for, I'm always pretty critical. I'm critical of my partner, right? Like, think about it. Like, I have these non-negotiables that I always say, right? I'm always like, she's got to be highly attractive, passionate, intelligent, sense of humor needs to be on point, active, healthy, fit lifestyle, fucking emotional intelligence. And it's like, I'm fucking sitting there like grading. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting there like, ooh, like, oh, you taking care of yourself? Oh, you didn't go for a run today? All right, interesting. There's a lot of pressure when you fucking date me, dog. Like, I mean, truly. And when things aren't in alignment for me, trust me, my mouth is not staying shut. Like, I am very quick to probably criticize. I'm very quick to make a joke or make a comment that maybe might put you not at ease. And I'm very hard on honestly, I really am, because my boundaries are very, very strong. And sometimes they could be a little too strong, right? Where I really do feel that sometimes in relationships, what you don't realize is you can have like we always push these like boundaries, like everybody fucking boundaries. But in reality, sometimes you could have too many boundaries where you're too strict, and now you're becoming a little self-absorbed in a way, right? People aren't the enemies, right? We have to allow for mistakes to happen. We have to allow for things not to be perfect. And especially because people are not perfect. But it's hard because I think that's something that I strive for. And for me personally, I take my life in that way, right? I really try to bring this, I never lie. I never do blank, like I'm always going to show up. Like, I'm never going to make mistakes. Of course I've made mistakes. Of course I've had my moments, right? But I push myself. And I think that view also, again, goes into my partner. Long story short, we're sitting at this dinner, right? Obviously, me and her, we're talking about it, right? We're talking about this idea that I'm not feeling a little understood. And honestly, while it definitely is something that is a big deal, something I just want to say, like, fast forward a little bit through the weekend, and to be honest, the more that I spend time with her in person, the more I do feel understood by her. So I think maybe a lot of that is me, maybe just, or her not necessarily getting to know me or be around me fully all the time. And we have a lot of late night phone calls after she's done with a 12-hour shift. She's feeling, tired as hell. She stays up late every single night to talk to me on the phone for a little bit. And she's not perfect. And again, I think that I'm always like pushing this like narrative to her, like little things, right? Let's say when we first started talking, there was this like guy in her life that she had this emotional connection with. It's just a friend. And it's an important character in the story that we're going to tell today. But long story short, I've always put this pressure on her. Like, who the fuck is this? Like, who is this guy? I mean, obviously she's been a little weird about this character in her life. And again, to be fully transparent, from what I understand, it's not somebody that she really has ever done anything with. It's truly just a friend, but somebody that she's historically leaned on. It's the classic, you know what it is? It's the classic girl when girls find a guy that likes them, right? And they spend all of this time with them, and it's the friend, and he's not the nice guy, but he's the guy you confide in that you don't want to fuck. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Every girl like has that one guy friend that is literally just their guy friend that they talk to about other guys. And this is that guy. You know what I'm saying? He's that guy. He likes her and she doesn't like him like that, but she enjoys that, connection. And also it's probably really nice to have that safety. In some ways, some guy to be able to vent to probably really helped her out through some hard times. So anyways, have put pressure on her about this relationship in a little bit of a ways, because I'm always wondering, like, all right, what do you mean? I was very curious about this person. So anyways, we get through the breakfast. We kind of just like settle on like, all right, listen, we got to just understand each other better. We're on the same page. Communication's great. Come back to my house, hang out. Vibes are great. Next thing you know, we're sleeping, we like fooled around, whatever. We're laying on my bed and, I'm looking through my camera roll and a couple girls had called me in like a span of like 8 hours. It was like my two girl space friends. They really are just friends. And then my ex did call me. I have a very interesting relationship with, my ex as well. We talk to each other here and there. I guess that's not necessarily a great thing, but it's also not a bad thing. We've really just been friends for such a long fucking time. And it truly is just an actual friendship. We never crossed that line of like flirtiness or anything weird. But anyways, I didn't answer them, but I was looking through my camera. I was looking through my call log in front of her, right? I'm just like scrolling. I'm like, oh, look, I only really talk to you. And I'm like scrolling through my call log. She scrolls through her call log. Like next to me, she's like, look, I only talk to you too. And then there was this guy's name there. I was like, who is that? I was like, why'd you call him? And it was the friend that we're talking about right now. And honestly, the only thing is the way that she has talked about this friend to me is kind of like he's this guy that was too much. He liked her so much that he became annoying essentially. And she didn't really want him in her life anymore. Right. Like that friendship wasn't serving her anymore. This is the guy I was just talking about. And she called him and I was like, this is very weird. I was like, why are you calling a person that you have kind of told me is like somebody you don't even want to be friends with? I'm not going to give all the details, but long story short, I'm like, curious. I'm pressing her. I'm like, what's good here? She's like, oh, I called him because she was locked out of her house. And apparently he has a spare key. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what the fuck is going on now? Now I'm like, he's got a spare key. I'm like, what kind of friend is this? You know what I mean? Like I'm tripping. But anyways, they have been friends and neighbors for multiple years. So I'm pressing her about it. She freaks out. And she goes downstairs. She's just like, I can't deal with this, goes downstairs. And I go downstairs after a little while and I sit down with her. I'm like, yo, just like, tell me the truth. Like, what's going on here? Like, you're acting really weird. You've never acted like this before. I've never seen you be like this. I was like, let me see the call again. Let me see the call like that you made to him. How long was it? And it just like, there was like no information. It was only like a 20-30 minute meetup. She told me that she met up with him to talk really quick, just about like stuff. And honestly, it's not that I don't believe this. It's truly real because she called her mom about, 20 to 30 minutes after that phone call. And then she called me back. I was on the phone with her at that moment. So the time in between was not that long. So long story short, and I keep saying that, but it's not going to be. I'm like, now I'm grilling her. I'm like, yo, like what's happening? I was like, let me see your text messages, cause now we're at that point. I'm like, all right, if something fishy's here, like I want to see it. She opens up her text and the last thing that was there was a text that I had already seen back in the day. She sent me a screenshot because he had he questioned her about an Instagram reel that we had posted together. The first time she came to visit me, I posted an Instagram reel with her in it. And he was like, messing with her about it. And that was the end of the conversation. And I was like, that doesn't really make sense. I was like, there's no message there. I said, yo, hit the edit button. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you delete text messages on the iPhone, now there's a folder called recently deleted. And if you hit the edit button, right, when you delete text messages, your deleted text messages are in there. I knew she wasn't going to know this because it's kind of like a newer feature. And I was like, yo, hit the edit button. She was like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? I'm like, you don't hide anything from me. And I'm like, now you're telling me to like, you can't show me that? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So now we're really getting into it. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, is there some crazy shit happening here? Long story short, I'm like grilling her. She's like, no, it's nothing. No, it's nothing. I swear. I'm like, tell me what's on here. I know you. You know what I'm saying? I know you so well. Like, you wouldn't be hiding this if there was something here. Finally, she kind of just like confesses. She's like, to be honest, like, I just didn't want you to see. And she sent like a little message about, to this guy, to the neighbor, about a guy that she had an old attachment to, just essentially saying like she was a little bothered about a photo he had posted. And then also there was another message there about, the guy that she called, potentially her giving him COVID. She was sick about 2 weeks ago. So she had seen him in between as well. So at that point, like, I see those messages and obviously I'm taken back. I'm like, what is this? I'm questioning her a whole bunch. I was hurt, right? Like, trust is such a big deal for me. And I just know me personally, like, I swear on my life, I swear on everything I know, like, I wouldn't delete text messages. I wouldn't do shit like that. And what's crazy is like, I understand this circumstance. So let me fast forward. So obviously we get into it. We're fucking together for 2 days. She tells me what it is. She shows me the messages. And honestly, after she kind of explains all of it, where she just like, listen, this really is my friend. I obviously haven't updated you that, I ran into him a few times since like, the last couple weeks. It's really nothing serious. Like, it really is not like that. And here's the thing. I know you guys might even be thinking right now, like, this is bullshit. Like, this girl's like a fucking phony. She's like fake. And listen, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, did my opinion of her get a little tarnished? Yeah, it did. Like, I saw a side of her that I didn't think was really in there, for some reason, but also it's also not as crazy as I make it seem to be. So let me continue anyways. So essentially we moved past it because she essentially explains to me that obviously she didn't want me to see that message. She was bothered in that moment. Essentially like her ex like posted a photo with another girl, and this ex that she had been with, he kind of gave, like, the girl I'm talking to kind of told her that he just wasn't ready for a relationship and he was never down for that. And then he's out there popping out with another girl. So she got a little triggered by it. You know what I mean? She saw his story and was like, dude, what the fuck? Obviously again, she's with me, and that's what really hurt me, right? Is like, damn, like, you're fucking triggered. And even if and honestly, the message was not that bad. It was like, I'm a little bothered by blank, picture or whatever. And that's also how I know with the guy that she's talking to, right? Like, it really is just that same type of friendship that, again, it is just an emotional friendship where there isn't anything. They'd never crossed those lines, from what I understand. And I do believe that because she does have text messages of them talking about how they are really just friends, and he was trying for more and she was kind of shutting it down. So she does have that documented as well. So, obviously in the moment, I'm feeling really weird, right? Like, we're together for 2 days. We've been, again, me, Mr. Critical, and so like, strict, right? Like, it really took me back. Like, I was just like, I didn't know how to feel, I didn't know how to move forward with it. Like, I was just having little moments where like different feelings and emotions were coming towards. I'm like, why the fuck would she care about that? And then the other thing is like, why would she lie to me? Like, I don't lie to her about other shit. Although I'll be honest, there was a moment early in our relationship before she had come the first time where I had gone to dinner with another girl. And now, granted, this girl, me and her have text messages. It was just a friendly dinner, but obviously, again, I'm meeting a new person. It was not a date. It was said that way, but I did not tell this girl that immediately. She also asked me a question because I brought up some instance of some girl talking about her period, and she was like, what girl? And it was actually the girl I went to dinner with, but I said another one. So anyways, the day that she had gotten to my house on that first visit in January, I fessed up. I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I told 2 lies to you. Like, well, I didn't tell her the other thing. I said, hey, the girl that you asked me about, it wasn't her. It was actually, I went to dinner with a girl and it was just a friend. We did not do anything. I promise you, I have the text messages and all that stuff to prove that, but I didn't tell her. And obviously in that moment, I did lie about something, right? I did keep that from her. So again, I'm not an angel in all of this either, and this is the other thing about relationships in general. And again, just like the quote, right? The quote itself that I brought up at the beginning, which was, in relationships, trust isn't a promise to never hurt each other. It's the risk that we will hurt each other, and that we have the confidence that if we do, we will come together to heal, right? And I feel like I fully experienced that, this past week, where in that moment, like, I was fucking hurt, right? Like that shit didn't feel good. And, obviously for the 2 days that she was here, like we kind of just like talked through it and we moved past it. But, as soon as she left, right, we ended up having a really bomb time actually after that, right? So after that moment, that night, we went to bed, we were a little upset. I woke up still a little upset that next day. But we ended up getting into it. And honestly, we ended up having a really good day, like really good friendship, really good fun, like good vibes, good energy, went out to dinner. Again, I'm still feeling that residue of not like, I'm a little turned off. You know what I mean? Like I really, if we lived in the same place, I probably would have not stayed with her. But because we were just together for the 2 days, like at that point we had to salvage whatever was left of the trip. So after she goes home, I have these deep conversations again, like, and I recognize something, right? Like during this time, this girl is essentially telling me like, I just didn't know how to tell you, right? Like I didn't know, like I didn't feel safe to show you that, right? Essentially. And that's the thing for me is like, I realized, something about myself, like, and I think a lot of girls can like maybe even relate to her and being in that situation with the guy that is so strict and so critical. And like, I'm always challenging the relationship, right? I'm always just like, fuck the long distance, or like, I can't really do this. Like, or I don't know if I could do this. Like, this is so hard. Like, oh, the personality differences. Like, I don't know, where are we going with this? I'm constantly challenging it, right? I'm constantly putting the relationship at odds. I'm not creating that safe space, right? And also, it is just a very complicated situation. It's fucking long distance. I don't want to do fucking long distance. So I feel like that's the thing is like, that's why this situation is so complicated. And that's what I said, relationships in general are so fucking hard, is because you have all these different factors like mixing in and causing problems. And again, nobody's perfect either. So, with that being said, like in a weird way, like I almost came to her after she had gotten back. She's like, hey, I really miss you, whatever. She's being really kind. She's being really sweet. And obviously, again, she took full accountability. She's like, I'm really sorry I hurt you. I should have showed you. I should have never done that to you. And I feel so bad that, A, you had to see that because it's a private conversation between her and her friend. And B, like, she's just like, I should have shown you. But that's the thing though. It's like, and here's the thing, just me being real. I mean, how could she show me? Because in the back of her mind, I'm sure she's probably feeling like, okay, if he sees this, I'm fucking done. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure so many women relate to that, right? Where it's like, you'd rather lie because the reality is you feel like if you don't lie, you might risk having to deal with something or losing the relationship. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily an excuse for lying either. So that's why it's like me and her, and this is what's crazy, is that even though she's the one that lied, quote unquote, we both have a responsibility to that, right? We both have a responsibility in that. And that's what's something that's really hard. It's really hard for us in relationships to recognize is like the dynamic. If it is shitty or if it is crappy, it is both of y'all fault. It's not just their fault. It's not just her fault for lying. Now, would I have appreciated her being open? Yeah. But have I created a safe space for her to be vulnerable about me with that? Again, I don't think she's coming to me with that, right? Being bothered by that. But also when it comes to the little moments with like her friend and just seeing him, it's almost like she doesn't want to bring that up because she doesn't even want to talk about it. Because she feels like, oh, if some, whatever. If I bring this up or if I talk about it, he's just going to be weird about it, right? Like I'm sure every woman listening to this can probably relate to the fact of like, there is just some stuff where you're not necessarily going overboard or really fucking the relationship up, but there's just some stuff that you would not want your man to see because you're like, if he fucking saw this, it would just cause such a fucking problem, when in reality, I'm really not crossing that line. So that's the hard part, you know? It's like, it's very difficult to build that type of trust, to, you know, see something like that. You know, for me, again, like, that shit hurt. And when she got back, I mean, I chewed her up. I'm like, I'm here doing the fucking most, and you're fucking mad because homie's posting a fucking 23-year-old? I'm like, this dude treated you like ass, and he didn't show up for you? And that's what you're fucking bothered by? I was like, I am not a second place trophy. I know what the fuck I'm worth, and that's me, and that's my energy. That's what I'm saying. I'm digging into her about feelings that she had that were, in my opinion, she can have two feelings, right? I think she knows that I'm a better partner for her. I think she really does care about me a lot. I'm serious. She showed up here. She calls me every day. She's on point. She really does. Like, I'm not joking about that, right? Like, I'm not sitting here, like, I'm not a fucking dummy, right? If she really was fucking on me, and again, it would have to be so shocking and jarring if she really was doing some wild shit, because to be honest, she has not shown up that way at all. So again, it's like there's two sides to that story where it's like, you know, as a guy, you're chewing your girl out or you know, you're chewing your fucking partner out constantly about shit. You know, and I was talking to Jay on the phone, and I'm gonna say kudos to him for this, right? He turned around, he's like, Chris, you know, a good way to relate this is, imagine you have really strict parents and the kid makes a mistake. You think the kid's going to want to tell your parents, the strict parents, about what he did? No, because he doesn't feel safe to say that information to you, because you have been so controlling and so on their ass that there is no wiggle room. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I've probably communicated to her in a way, like, yo, there's no wiggle room. Like, if you fuck up, I mean, I tell her all the time. I'm like, yo, the stakes are so fucking high. I'm like, yo, we're fucking long distance. There's no fucking up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's no fucking up. But in reality, I'm putting so much pressure. It's not allowing for that ability to be an imperfect human. And I think, like, it was just a really important lesson for me, especially because a lot of this, of what happened, I know you might just, it's easy to point the finger and say, well, she shouldn't have lied. True. Did she hurt me? Yes. But that's at the end of the day. And again, back to this quote, right? It's like, you know, that's what a relationship is. It's like, you're going to have moments where your partner hurts you. You're going to have your moments where your partner disrespects your trust. But can you get together? Can you communicate? Are you guys truly on the same page? And can you repair it? Can I learn to trust her again? Can I learn to say, you know what? She had a moment. She didn't really want, that conversation wasn't meant for my eyes. Her mistakes are just not being open, because honestly, I would have never seen the message if she wasn't so shady about the fucking friendship in the first place. So she's got lessons of her own. But on my side, I got to recognize, yo, if I'm going to be this critical and I'm constantly going to criticize the relationship or what this person is doing or how we're not there yet or it being long distance and I don't know what the fuck is going on, I have to expect that this person isn't always going to show up and be 1000% with me because they're fucking scared. So my whole point is you both contribute to making or breaking the relationship. Now, the other side of the coin, just because, you know, you want to repair things and you want to overlook certain things, and not overlook them, but learn from them. Like, that's the thing is, I need from her to take accountability for what she had done, and she had done that. And she had told me and reassured me, no, Chris, like, you are the person I want. You're the person I want to be with. You know, I had a fucking moment, like, and I didn't want to show you that. And I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done those things. I shouldn't have I should have told you that this guy was, you know, we still have had little words here and there. And I should have just been more upfront with all of that. And then on my end, like, I have to come to the table and say, yo, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I appreciate that. And yes, I'm really fucking hurt. Don't do that shit ever fucking again. And see, there I go. I turn right back into, don't do that shit ever fucking again. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm laying into, again, I'm not creating that safety for her, but it's this weird balance between, hey, I got to set my boundary with you, But also at the same time, it's like I still have to give you space to be human. I still have to give you room for error. And it's a very difficult thing. And that was the one thing too about all of this is the problem is if you're in a relationship where you're constantly being hurt and you're constantly feeling like that, like that's what I'm saying is if this girl turned around and did this again or wild out or was lying about some other shit, I would find it very hard to continue on. I really would. But at the same time, it's like, these things are going to happen. So it's about finding that balance, right? It's about finding that balance between setting your boundaries with people, but also having the ability for them to still be human and for you to create that safe space for them so that you guys could build trust with each other. And that's not just going to happen again. It's not always going to be very clean. So, in a weird way, like I feel like this situation kind of made us a little stronger, although I'm still at this place now. So like fast forward a little bit. I feel like the reason we're even having these fights in the first place is because of that lack of security, right? And why is there a lack of security in the relationship? We've been talking for about 3 months. There's a lack of security because we haven't seen each other that much. And that's an important quality for me. So I think that's what's difficult about all of this is like, I'm still at that place where because here's the deal. I think if she lived here, I'm not joking when I say this. If she lived here, this girl would be my girlfriend already. 1,000%. I would have asked. I just said, yo, let's date. Let's try this. But because we haven't had that time together and because she's over there and I'm not seeing her, I'm like, I can't get to that place with you yet. And honestly, it's really difficult. And honestly, if you really want to know something crazy, I even turned around to her last night and I literally said this. I was like, and we got to this conversation in a weird way, but I was like, listen, like, I really love you, but we should break up. And you guys are like, what the fuck? What the fuck does that mean? Because I'm like, yo, like, and this is again where the criticalness and the instability and the anxiety and then the mistakes and all this shit, right? It's happening because of the distance. Because in reality, again, I would give you the security if you were here, but you aren't. And we have to like get to a place where we do know what we want, or we do like there is certainty. And right now, if you're in a relationship that doesn't have certainty, it's just going to naturally be messy. We wouldn't even be fighting about any of these things. Honest, maybe the personality stuff. Of course, there's going to be things. I still am a critical person. So of course, we're still going to have fucking things that I'm going to say. I need to work on that piece, right? I need to work on allowing this person to be human. Because there's so many other great qualities. Again, the communication, the ability to just be there for each other. And honestly, we really do have a lot of fun and we really do have a really good time. When we're in person, it's a blast. Like it really, we have such a good time. The vibe is so chill. The vibe is just so clean and clear cut. But that's the thing is like, what makes it hard again is like, I can't give the security because I feel like I'm long distance until I feel like we have the miles. We don't really have the miles because we haven't been able to see each other because her work schedule is a little complicated. Her family's over there. She's very family oriented. And we're now at this piece where like we live across the country. And to me, I'm like, there needs to be an end goal. And the hard part is how do we talk about this end goal of being in the same place with each other if we're not even at the place where we know that we want to fully commit to each other because we haven't had the ability to see each other? So that's why I turned around. I was like, I love you, but I'm like, maybe we should just end it here. Why don't we just be nice? Like end it on good terms. And the reason that conversation got to that place is, she was just like talking about how like, I love Arizona. And I'm like, yeah, I really fucking do. And I was like, I don't know how I could see myself leaving. I really don't. It would be very hard for me to go back home, to New York. And that's where she is. But the other hard part is her family lives over there, and she's really family oriented. And that's a major move. You know what I mean? Like you're now, instead of like, cause her family like lives upstate, now you'd be a 5-hour plane ride away from them. It's not that simple anymore. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, is this girl really going to do that? Is this girl really going to, make that move? But the other hard part is like, she is definitely not in a place to know whether or not she's ready to do that because we haven't really gotten that far. But then the hard part for me is like, and I think this is the reason that I've been so critical and have been so unstable is, and I don't want to say the word waste of time or the phrase waste of time because I don't want it to be like that. But I feel like something that's really difficult is, I spend a lot of time on the phone with this person, like, and we spend a lot of time creating and building this relationship, even though it's not here. I really am spending a lot of time, pouring into this person. And the reality is like, I think I would feel so much better if there was truly certainty behind it. Right. But to be honest, like, I feel like in a weird way by being in a long distance situation and not seeing her, like it isn't what I want. You know what I'm saying? I want my person to be here. I want to be around them. And I guess that's where I'm at, where I'm just like, if you know in your heart that you're never going to leave, and I know in my heart that I'm never going to leave where I'm at, we got to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? We just got to be real with each other and just say, all right, listen, this is fucking dope, but we're both at this place where we don't want to do that. I don't want to go there or you don't want to come here, and that's okay. But I guess here's the other thing too. It's like, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself either, right? Like I could still, here's the thing. I think this upcoming month is kind of a big month in the sense of, she has a lot more time off. We're going to see if we could actually see each other a lot more than we did these last 2 months. And I think we just need that time together in person to really see if this is something that we really want to pursue like that, because that's what I'm saying. To make this move would be astronomical. It would be fucking crazy for one of us to do that. And maybe we're just not at that place where we really know that yet, but it's really hard because I feel like for me to give that security, I would want to know whether or not you thought about that or whether or not that really is truly a possibility, right? That's my point is I don't want to work on this relationship and put so much time and energy into somebody that, to be honest, like, and here's the other feeling I've been having is like, I've really been thinking about like, how much time and energy I want to put on myself. Like if I wasn't with this person, I think what I would do is I would really take like months off of trying to keep maybe more casual or very low maintenance relationships so that I could really dive deep on myself, really dive deep on the things that I'm doing. So it's almost like I'm secure in that and I'm almost okay with that. So I'm just like, maybe I should just give this the time to just see. And that's kind of where I'm at today, where I'm just like, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Let's give it the month. Let's see where we go, right? Let's see how much we see each other. Let's see if we can actually spend some real time together with each other in person. I go there, you come here. We make it a really great month where we could see each other and spend that time and see if we're legit. And if we are, maybe we do have that conversation about whether or not it is a possibility for one of us to be in the next place. And if that is a possibility, then I don't know. Like, honestly, I think I probably would commit myself fully to this person, truly. But this shit is complicated. It's not easy. And like I said, there's so many fucking factors, right? It's hard when that's what I'm saying. Like, we all think this shit is supposed to be just so smooth and simple, but it's really not. It's really not. And that's one thing too, like I'm realizing. So my girlfriend was over last night, girl space friend. I always have to clarify. And she was actually talking to me about a guy that she's been talking to and she's been dating. And it's funny because like from the outside looking into people's relationships, I feel like you can always see where that person is not showing up or they're showing up incorrect. So for instance, when I told her this story last night, because I gave her this whole story, she turned around and was like, listen, like as a girl, like I could relate to her. Like I could relate to the fact that she didn't really want to show you that. And she's like, I've deleted text messages and stuff before and she was like, it's not that I was really doing something wrong. It was just like, I knew that my guy that I was with, I just did not want to have that conversation. And it would just be so much easier to not fight about that. And then the other thing too is, again, she could see how much pressure I'm putting on her too, right? Like, and I'm sure you guys could hear it as well. Like, that is really my shortcoming in my relationships, right? That is something that I need to take accountability for. Like, I've done that to every single one of my partners. I put so much pressure on them, so much. And when I look back at it, I'm like, damn, like I really have done that. I really have. Because, that's the flip side of the coin is like, I feel like I am somebody that is hyper independent. My family's like that. I have divorced parents where, my mom has always been by herself and has always instilled the belief in me that I don't need anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need anybody to be happy. You don't need anybody in your life. Like, you need to work for it for yourself. You need to fend for yourself. And I've taken that mentality. But you couple that with the criticalness and the perfectionism, and it's game over. How can I create trust with somebody when I'm being so fucking hard on you and I'm always so prepared to leave and I'm always so prepared to be independent? And then obviously, again, this girl isn't perfect either. And then you have two imperfect people coming together to try to form a relationship. And of course, you're going to have problems. And of course, you're going to hurt each other. Right? That's what I'm saying. I've probably hurt this girl by saying some of those things, by not providing her that safety. But I don't provide her that safety because we're long distance and because I'm hyper independent and I don't want to do long distance. Whew. Right? It's not an easy thing. And I guess really what the whole moral of this story is, you really need to look at yourself. You really need to look at the ways that you're not showing up, right? If somebody's fucking up in a relationship, you guys are both fucking up. You get what I'm saying? You're both fucking up. It's not just them. And I guess one last thing I wanted to say about my friend when she was venting to me about this guy that she was talking to and like they kind of like broke up or whatever. Like the way that she was communicating to him was like so mixed signals, but like to her, when she was telling me, she was so proud of the conversation that she had. She's like, I'm like telling him that I don't want to be with him. I'm like, no, you're actually just blaming the fuck out of him and making it seem like it's all his fault. Meanwhile, you're the one who doesn't actually like him. And then you're trying to fix him. So my whole point is, I think we all need an outside perspective on our relationships, because if you are so rooted in being right, we're all rooted in the way that we believe. It's hard to get outside of the way that we see it, right? Because again, when I'm communicating these things to her, for my sake, I'm looking at it as me setting boundaries, me expressing what I want, me, being honest, me being authentic. But in reality, the way it's being received and the way that's being taken is critical. The way it's being taken is a lack of trust, is instability, is insecurity. And it's very hard to see that when you're in the middle of it. So, long story short, we're really not in a bad place. I have so much love for this girl. Like, you have no idea. I really do. I appreciate her so much. I really do. Just thinking about her, she's such a good person. Really. And I know, like, cause that's the thing too, like Chris Happy of the past, like if some girl fucking did that shit, like, bro, I'd be fucking out. Like, fuck all that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on that energy and I'm with it. But like, new me, like, understands like, yo, this is part of being vulnerable, right? That's vulnerability. Vulnerability is understanding also that you will get hurt, right? That quote, it's like, you will get hurt. Wake up, actually. In a relationship, they're not always going to be on point. They're not. You have to be the one that understands, like, if you truly love somebody and you truly like them, it's about working through it with them. But they also got to show up and take accountability, right? You can't be with the partner that is not taking accountability for their shit and you're constantly the one trying to pick up the pieces. That's not how that works. No. It's when you have two people that are willing to be there and willing to show up and telling each other, yo, I really like you. I really love you. I am here for you. Hey, I fucked up. I'm sorry. It's not just, oh, I fucked up. Oh, well, like, me. That's just who I am. Sorry. That's not it. That's not it. That's somebody that's going to keep hurting you over and over and over and over. And you do need to set a better boundary. As I'm saying, trying to find that balance between setting boundaries and still, again, having that room for error, just not fucking easy. All right. Let's tackle the main topic of the day, even though it definitely was not. How does one stop attracting unstable men? You know what? This is such a great segue from what we were just talking about, right? because I think the way that you attract a more stable man is if you become more emotionally stable yourself. Point blank. If you were attracting unstable men, you were unstable yourself. You were emotionally unavailable yourself because you're chasing BS. You're holding on and trying to fix people that are not in alignment with you. That's the truth. The truth is that you are valuing people who are showing up for you in a way that is scattered and is not consistent and is not based on communication. You're going after people for the highs and the lows. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're going after them for validation reasons. One thing I was having a conversation with this girl last night about is how sometimes we pick partners based on validation, the validation that they give us. Sometimes when we find somebody super attractive and we really like them and we are infatuated with them, because that's really what it is. It's an infatuation because maybe we think they're so cool. Maybe they make a lot of money. Maybe they have a lot of followers. Maybe they're super hot. And what we do is we think, oh, well, if I just get with them, then what will that say about me, right? Oh, if I had this super hot partner, look at how cool I will be, right? I mean, that's my thing is like I fell in love with a girl that honestly, her only pro was that she was a drop dead gorgeous dime. And the cons were unlimited, right? Not communicating, not showing up, lying, making me feel small, making me feel unloved. But I was chasing it so hard because I was like, well, if I get with her and I convince her and things just even out and I keep giving her chances, maybe, you know what I'm saying, I could corral this person, then I'll look dope because look how hot my girl is. So again, I think if you're attracting that unstable person, it means that you truly have not done the work, honest. And you're not going to get into a great relationship in 2024 if you are not putting that time into yourself and you're not actually working. Honestly, I think I'm really at this point in my life and in my relationship career where if I meet a woman that has not done some form of therapy, does not take care of herself, does not read, does not really go hard on, self-growth, there's absolutely zero chance I'm going to date you. None. Zero. I'm not joking. That's what I'm trying to say. If you want to attract a stable man, you're going to find a guy that has worked on himself, point blank. And if they are even remotely telling you, oh, I'm emotionally unavailable. Like, I don't really know. Guys like variety. Oh, I'm just not really, I'm not sure if I'm ready. I'm not sure if I'm there yet. Like, I'm not sure. All this bullshit, all this questioning. Right? Like, I got problems and they're not fucking trying to solve them and they're not going to therapy and they're not doing the work on the spot, you got to stop. But that's the thing is like a lot of y'all that attract these unstable people, you don't have the boundaries and the know-how yourself to keep it real. Because again, you want the fucking validation that they're bringing you. You're not really thinking about, okay, is this person actually going to show up for me? We value the wrong things. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's really hard because here's the other thing too, I think is really difficult. We want it all in this world. And I think you deserve it all. I truly believe in getting it all. I'm a big believer in having standards. I want somebody attractive. I want somebody that is a go-getter, you know what I'm saying? Smart, taking care of themselves, all the things. So the thing is, if you combine all of that and then also trying to find somebody that, again, is emotionally equipped, that knows how to communicate. I mean, being emotionally successful is so different than being successful in terms of wealth, that's being successful in terms of attractiveness, that's being successful in terms of all these other material things, right? Being socially successful. You need to have both. But I think at a minimum, for me to even be in a relationship with you, emotional success to me is number one now. And I think that's where, I think the biggest switch that you can make to finding a more stable partner is switching your values to valuing emotional success and emotional safety as number one. as valuing communication, trust, honesty. All of that is number one. That's the switch. You got to get away from just the attraction being number one. You got to get away from, again, just them being fucking cool. You're going to find that. That's what I'm trying to say is like, yo, you could always find somebody attractive, in my opinion. You could always find somebody that is successful or, again, is on their grind or all these things. You could find those things. But finding somebody that is emotionally equipped, to me, that's rare. Because how many people are really doing the work? I mean, especially from a perspective of men. A lot of men don't do that stuff. A lot of men do not take care of themselves like that. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. They don't. Because they think they got it figured out. That's the problem. For real. And even me. I'm going to keep it real. I'm up here. I'm a dating coach. I've helped so many people transform their lives, transform their relationships. And again, it is so much easier when you are on the outside looking in. I want you to look at coaching as almost like a barber. It is so much easier for me to cut your head because I can see the back of your head. You can't see the back of your head. You understand what I'm saying? So as a coach, people ask me like, but look at your relationship. Yeah, I got a fucking therapist, motherfucker. Because I can't see the back of my head. I got friends that are going to keep me in check. I got friends that are therapists. I got a partner that calls me the fuck out when I'm not acting right. My whole point is just because you are a coach or somebody that feels like they know the information, you can know the motherfucking information, but you still need help. You still need an outside perspective. Go get fucking coaching. Go get therapy, dead ass. If you're a man listening to this and you're a woman, I hope that has influenced you. You understand what I'm saying? Is you think that you know. That's the problem. That is the problem with everybody. Is you think you know what the fuck you're doing, or you think you know that you're right, but you're fucking wrong. And no one tells you that. And the people that do tell you that, what do? You fucking write them off. That's the truth. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, she's just being a bitch. Oh, he's just an idiot. You know how many times, you know what's funny? My friend who I talked to last night, she's a therapist. The way that she is communicating in her relationship, childish. Keeping it real with her. She's going to listen to this and get mad at me. She's going to get mad at me for saying that. But that's what I'm trying to say is when I see the way that she's communicating, I could tell where she's fucking up. But when she's in it, and that's what I'm saying, she teaches this on a daily basis too. She don't see it. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't fucking see it. Sorry. I'm dead ass. If you haven't gotten help and you haven't gotten an outside perspective, you probably don't see it. You don't see it. I can almost guarantee you. So if you want to attract a more stable partner, it's about generating self-awareness, number one, and then finding a partner that also has that. That's what I'm saying. Valuing self-awareness, valuing somebody that you can tell is actually putting the work to understand themselves, to take accountability for their own shit. That's the people that you need. Again, not Joe Schmo drinking at the bar, doing fucking cocaine, doing nothing. And listen, I got nothing against people doing drugs and drinking and all that stuff because you can go have fun and be responsible. My whole point is, are they really taking the time to get to know themselves very well? Are they really taking accountability when shit hits the fan? Like, for instance, my situation, is there a moment where you did something, right, and you were vulnerable with them, and then they chewed you out, but they never took accountability for what they did? You need a partner that does that. You need a partner when shit fucks up in the relationship, comes to you and says, all right, like, doesn't just give up on you. How can we figure this out? Or at least comes to the table and communicates, doesn't ignore you, doesn't ghost you, doesn't leave you on red, doesn't leave you hanging, is true to their word majority of the time. 98% of the time, they need to be true to their word. You have to leave room for error, right? Because that's me, right? Where I'm like, nope, has to be 100%. If you're not an A++, you're dead. You know what I'm saying? I'm fucking being like, if everything's not on point, you're fucking done. That's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. But that's what I'm trying to say is like, you need to find somebody in your life and men in your life that show up. And you know what it is? The other thing too about attracting a stable person and a stable man is most of y'all, women and men, have never seen something stable. You've never met somebody where they communicate well. You've never met somebody where it's green flags. You never met somebody that has shown up for you, that does the little things for you, that's thoughtful, right? Buys you a little gift that you guys talked about when you were walking through the mall. You've never had that. So you have no idea what a great relationship even looks like, because you have no idea what it even, that's what I'm saying. You can't even fathom it because it's literally outside of your brain. And that's, again, why I think you need outside help again, because there are blind spots in your beliefs. Your brain is running on a system. And if nothing comes in there to change the course of the way that you were seeing things and thinking things, how are you going to change? Please explain that to me. If you're not reading books, if you're not listening to podcasts, if you're not trying to get an outside view or an outside perspective, you're fucked. And I'm not saying fucked in the way of like you can't operate. There's a lot of people that don't do the work that are in relationships. But I'll tell you right now, go into the inner workings of that relationship. I guarantee you it's ass. Dead ass. Go look at their relationship where neither of them have done the work. They're fighting like they're 16 years old. It's toxic as shit. I don't want that shit. You know, all that glitters ain't gold. And a lot of you guys see these other people like being in relationships and like you might think there's something wrong with you being single. There's not. But I can guarantee you this. There is things that you could work on at all times. Every single step of a relationship, there is shit that you probably don't even realize about yourself. Swear to God. Every single person walking the face of the earth right now. No one is perfect. No one knows completely all their patterns. No one knows how to handle their emotions perfectly. Fuck all that. For real. And if you are walking around in your mind thinking to yourself like, oh, you know, it's the people I'm attracting or it's my partners, you wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. For real. Because that's fucking honestly dumb as fuck. For real. That's what I'm saying. Even me. That's what I'm saying. I talk to these people every day about their relationships. Hundreds of fucking people. I watch this shit. I consume this shit. I still am not perfect. I still don't communicate the best sometimes. I still get reactionary sometimes. I still get into my negative patterns sometimes. Now think about a regular Joe fucking schmo who's just on the street doing his thing, or a fucking athlete, or, you know, whatever the fuck guys do, firefighters, or fucking, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? The regular average man, the police officer, the fucking, the military man, the fucking, I don't know, the plumber, the electrician. Well, I don't know what the fuck these guys do. The bartender, the barista. I mean, these people they're not educating themselves. It's not easy. But that's what I'm saying. If you're listening to this shit right now, you better find somebody that's on that wave. You know what I'm saying? They can be those jobs. But again, taking care of themselves, reading, their habits, their word. Oh, huge one. You want to find a stable man? When he says he's going to do something, he fucking does it. That's stability. That's what you want. Who's taking care of himself, who's doing the work on himself, who's getting an outside perspective on the way that he thinks and the way that he feels. But here's the thing. More than likely, if you're attracting that, wake up, ladies. You haven't done the fucking work either. It's not their fault. Nah, it's not. It's him. It's them. It's the guy. It's crappy men. No, sweetheart, it's fucking you. It's you. Hello? So I'm saying, point that damn finger. If you're pointing a finger anywhere, remember the 4 that are fucking looking back at you. Please. Long story short. Long story short. Woo! Sorry, that was a very, woo. There's a lot there, huh? Long story short. We got to look inwards. We got to do the work. We got to, do our best to hold our boundaries, know the things that we truly value, and value the right things, right? We just talked about it: communication, honesty, trust, emotional intelligence. And I know for a fact, because again, I've helped hundreds of people, hundreds of women, not joking, swear to God. I do this, to me, it's like making popcorn at this point. I can get you in a stable relationship. That's what I'm saying. I swear to God, I feel like it's that easy now. Swear on my life. I know it sounds annoying to you probably, but if you give me 8 sessions with you, donezo, you're done. Because I'm not going to allow you to fuck around with people that are not within your values and not within the relationship that you want. I'm going to show you how to communicate and express yourself freely and appropriately, and hold a boundary when you need to. And ultimately work on your self-worth and just give you the belief that you can find it. Because once you have the belief that you can find it, you will absolutely get it. But you got to stay disciplined to the goal, right? Think about it. If I told you right now, make $1 million, will you turn around and tell me, hey, Chris, that's impossible? You'd say, no, that's possible. All I would have to do is what? You'd probably have to work a lot. You'd have to be disciplined, right? You have to stay in on the weekends. You'd have to really go hard and stay focused on that. You want a great relationship? You want $1 million relationship? Welcome to the big leagues, baby. Then you got to fucking focus. You got to be disciplined. You can't fuck around with people that are fucking around. And that's the difference. It's not very hard. You want me to keep it real? Life is very simple. You show up and you do the work and you're consistent. That's all it takes. The success that you were looking for is hidden in the work that you were avoiding. It's hidden in the everyday actions to choose the thing that is hard. And the thing that is hard is always the right thing to do. And there's just too many times in your life where I guarantee you have taken the easy way out. So you could watch all the advice you want. You could look up all the fucking things. But again, if you aren't willing to make the hard choices, if you aren't willing to take the uncomfortable actions, you could fucking sit on a prayer for the rest of your life. Choice is yours. The choice is yours. Bitch. All right. That's my podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Breakout Bootcamp, I'm pretty sure is out. I keep saying that and then it doesn't come out, but it's coming. Good advice, hard advice, organized knowledge, as I like to call it. It's organized knowledge. And I think it will really give you the kick in the ass you need if you ever need to detach from somebody or get away from somebody, and take your life to the next level. If you ever want to work with me one-on-one, please apply. Just throw the fucking application in there. I will get you in the right direction. I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm not looking for people that are just half-assing, right? Again, if you want a full-on transformation, hit the apply button. But don't come down my fucking lane if you're just looking for a quick fix solution. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? I'm good on that. I'm sick of that. That's what I'm saying. I only know like 10% of the people that actually apply are worth my time. For real. So who are you going to be? Again, the choice is yours. The choice is yours. All right. I love you. Give me a kiss. Give me a little kiss, little bitch. Yeah. All right. Peace out.